Hello, Substrike Army! My name is JacobAsAlways, and welcome to our draft analysis for your Green Bay Pikachus. Essentially the name I wanted Milwaukee's Substrika, but the person I commissioned for that logo never got back to me, so we're going to be the Green Bay Pikachus because I kind of tweaked the logo to make ourselves the Green Bay Pikachus because it was pretty easy to make, so it's going to be somewhere on the screen. So there's that. But essentially, we're in the Pokemon Draft League called the NPCC, the National Pokemon Competitive Conference. Basically, if you guys don't know what a Draft League is, I'm going to explain that right now. It's a fantasy draft Pokemon League. Essentially, you draft your own Pokemon like fantasy football, so only only one football or baseball player can be selected in those fantasy leagues. Only one Pokemon can be drafted. So if somebody drafts Milotic, per se, you know, I'm just saying, no one else can have Milotic. Say someone drafts Megalopunny, no one can have Megalopunny, etc., etc. So essentially it's that, but it is tweaked a little bit in tiers. Basically each Pokemon are put into tiers 1 through 5 based on how good they are in Draft League, kind of like how good they are in standard play based on usage, like OU, RU. Think of it like that, OU, RU, UU, NU, PU, etc. In Uber too. I don't want to leave out Uber. I just wanted to explain that. Basically, if they're really good, they're going to be in Tier 1. If they're really not as good, like, there are a lot of good Pokemon in Draft League, so they're going to be Tier 5. They're not as good, so just to explain some things. So basically, we all draft 1 Tier 1, 1 Tier 2, 2 Tier 3, 1 Tier 4, 1 Tier 5, 1 Mega, and then 4 free selections. The 4 free selections are based on a point system of 400. So you have 400 points to spend on 4 free Pokemon. Each tier 1 is 180, Tier 2 is 120, Tier 3 is 100, Tier 4 is 60, Tier 5 is 40. So basically all your points total cannot equal over 400 unless you draft a lower tier Mega. That can be in the description down below. I'll just put paste bin thing saying what tier each Mega is, so I don't have to explain in the video. So if you draft a Tier 2 Mega, you get plus 40. A Tier 3, you get plus 60. A Tier 4, I think it only goes with Tier 4, you get plus 80. I believe that was. Either that or plus 100. I can't remember on Tier 4. I didn't look at Tier 4s because, well, I did, but I didn't want any Tier 4, so I don't remember that too much. I'm not going to tell you right now what Mega we drafted. You guys are going to see that coming up. If you guys know anything, if you guys have been paying attention to Twitter, you guys know what Mega we chose. But anyway, let's begin, shall we, with our draft analysis. Round 1, I was vying for the best defogger in the game, or one of the best defog users in the game. I went with Latias. I got the #1 overall pick, which means I get the wheel pick every single time. So basically how it worked, there are 2 divisions in the NPCC, the Sun Division and the Moon Division. We're part of the Sun Division. So each division has 8 teams. So basically, we drafted separately though. So that is a key factor. Most leagues do not draft separately. So if I have Latias in my division, somebody else can have Latias in their division because we didn't draft together. Usually, leagues draft together, but we didn't because we wanted to have like better teams. I wasn't part of that panel. It was basically the owners decided on that, and that was fine. Like, they asked us, and a lot of people wanted to draft separately, which is fine. The better team, I'm not going to argue with the better team, honestly, because I really, really like our draft. There are some weak spots I don't necessarily like, but for the most part, I really like our team. I can't be upset at it at all. So anyway, we'll get the wheel pick every time. So there are 8 divisions, so we'll pick #1, so we won't pick for another 14 picks, or 15 picks. So essentially, we'll pick number 16 and 17, then 32 and 33. That's how it's going to go every time. We'll always get back-to-back picks, which made drafting a lot easier. Because if I wanted 2 Pokemon, I didn't have to decide between both of the Pokemon. I could just go ahead and draft both Pokemon I wanted right away. So essentially, what happened is I picked Latias #1 for a few reasons. It's a Healing Wish user. I wanted a Pokemon with Healing Wish because if we got low on one of our key win conditions, we could just Healing Wish up with Latias, which is fast enough to get the Healing Wish off. And if we want to run Scarf Healing Wish, we can. Makes it even faster. Say with one of our other Pokemon, which we'll get to later, we really need it to be healthy. We can bring it in. and just use Healing Wish. Then our Pokemon goes back to full, and there's like entry hazards like Stealth Rock. It won't take that until after the Healing Wish takes effect, which is really crucial. So I really love Latias for that reason. It can spam Draco Meteor better than pretty much any Pokemon in the game outside of like Hydreigon and Latios. So it can spam Draco, which is... There aren't a lot of things that want to switch a Draco in, and especially like in draft, like you have to essentially draft like something to take Draco Meteors or really powerful hits like that, or it's going to be bad news bears for the opposing team, or it's going to be bad news bears for you, I should say, for your team. But yeah, it's really nice. The ability to be offensive, defensive, support, Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Life Orb. It has so many options to run. You don't know what I'm going to be running on this thing any said week. So I really love Latias as the first overall pick. I didn't want a Mega like Mega Lopunny. And I do know we did ban Mega Metagross, the Mega Latias. Otherwise I probably would have chose like Mega Latias instead of like normal Latias. But still, besides that, actually no, I still probably would have chosen normal Latias. But anyway, we banned certain Megas and Hoopa Unbound because they are too good for draft format, as well as any Uber Pokemon. Essentially, I think all the Ubers that right now, except for like Landorus I believe all of the Ubers are banned, I want to say, except for Landorus I. Don't quote me though, I don't remember for sure. But yeah, I guess I'll put an annotation up if I was incorrect. But yep, for the most part, all the Ubers are banned. So there's that. Latias just was the best thing that I wanted, #1 overall. I didn't want any Mega yet, because I knew the Mega I wanted going in, and I was going to go at all costs to get that Mega, and I was just waiting in the wing. And default Latias is going to be nice, because for our Mega Pokemon that we're going to get to later, important. Anyway, next up to round 2 and 3, I'm just going to talk about each pick simultaneously together, because you can flip the picks. It doesn't matter. I'd still get the same Pokemon, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go with the round number 2, technically, in Milotic. I wanted Milotic. I knew I wanted Milotic, but it did not merit a #1 overall selection. And I just felt that I'd be able to get it in round 2. I just had that feeling. Like, I knew round 2 or round 3, it didn't matter. I knew I'd be able to get it with one of my first 3 picks, in 2 or 3. But I couldn't wait after that, so I needed to draft Milotic. Milotic is the Pokemon that just never faints. It can't go down. It can, but like it's so difficult because of its ability Marvel Skill. If it's got a status, it'll just buff its defense. Its defense is 79, which is average, like, but with the HP stat, and it just doesn't go down very much. Like, Milotic is a Pokemon that doesn't faint very easily. Are they vacuuming out there? Somebody's vacuuming out there. That's very frustrating. So if you guys hear anything in the background, I apologize. I'm already 8 minutes in. I'm not going to redo this video. This is one take, guys. One take. Anyway, we got Scald, Recover, Toxic, Marvel Scale, so we can run a Flame Orb about it and be able to take on physical hits, because I realized all the Pokemon that I wanted, and I essentially planned my draft from the start around my Mega, and I realized it was kind of weak to Brave Bird. Like, a lot of teams are weak to Choice Band Brave Bird from like Crobat, Staraptor, Talonflame. My team is kind of really weak to that. So I needed a Pokemon that would be able to take hits like that. And yes, Milotic does not resist Brave Bird by any stretch of the imagination. But in tandem with Marvel Scale and a Flame Orb, we can actually take Brave Birds from those banded flying type Pokemon pretty well. Like, at the most, I think any of them does like 50%, which is still a lot, but we can recover them. We can do all this, and then we can hit them all for super effective damage. We have Ice Beam for the Crobat and Staraptor, Scald for the Talonflame, and all of a sudden, that just doesn't look too threatening, honestly. So I wanted Milotic. It's just such a bulky Pokemon. It has the ability to phase with Dragon Tail and Haze. It can just stop a sweep mid-sweep unless it's unless a Pokemon has Substitute. It can stop a sweep in its track. And it's only got 2 weaknesses, being Ice and Electric, which Latias covers perfectly. So I'm very happy that I drafted Milotic. With our next round pick was a Moonguss. Now, a Moonguss was something that I wanted from the beginning. I knew I wanted it for, one, its access to Spore, 100% accurate sleep-inducing move is really nice to have up your sleeve, just because if you need to put something to sleep, you can. Yes, you do have to worry about Substitute. That is kind of an issue. Substitute, as you're going to see, Substitute is kind of the bane of our team's existence in a way until we can break the sub, and then we can do a lot of damage to it. We just can't allow certain Pokemon to get behind a Substitute. I'm not going to reveal any Pokemon anybody else has on their roster in our division or even in the opposing division, because we have 2 out-of-conference games, and I really do not want to reveal any things that our team could be weak to, but Substitute is something our team is weak to, and we do need to be careful about it, and we do need to play around it. So if we don't, we could be in trouble. At the same time, I'm not too worried about it because we can play around it. I do believe our team can play around it. We just have to be competent and just smart about the plays in which we make. We're just going to be careful all around this season. But a Moonguss is a Pokemon. It's a great defensive pivot because it has Regenerator ability. Like, I'm not going to run Effect Spore. Like, more often than not, I will not run Effect Spore because Regenerator is, for the most part, 95% of the time, it's going to be a better ability than Regenerator. Sure, Effect Spore can kick in, get paralysis, poison, burn. I don't want that because I want to be able to put things to sleep with a Moonguss. And the fact is, a Moonguss can run so many different items. It can be Assault Vest because just really tanky wall that just doesn't die. It can just have Black Sludge. Rocky Helmet is such a nice item, and I really, really love Rocky Helmet, especially on regenerated Pokemon. Not only that, Moonguss gets Synthesis, just like Milotic gets Recovered, just like Latias gets Roost. So our first 3 Pokemon have recovery options, reliable recovery options. Synthesis is obviously the least reliable because, like, if somebody's got like a rain team or somebody has a certain weather up that we don't like sand or hail or rain, Synthesis will only be getting us, 25% back instead of 50. Regardless, though, I really like the ability to use Synthesis if we need to. We have Clear Smog to derail sweeps even more. We have Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain. Foul Play is really important, especially for breaking substitutes. If certain Pokemon has like a Psychic type up and they're setting up Calm Mind, we can go for Foul Player of something of that nature, break the sub, and be able to just easily break the sub. Or something like a Gyarados, perhaps, is setting up Substitute, and they EV train their Gyarados enough to live Sludge Bombs and Giga Drains and not break the sub. Foul Play will break the sub. So if anyone's got a Gyarados that sets up Dragonets and Substitute, that could be problematic for our team. Therefore, we can easily run Foul Play to play around that, and that's really important and really crucial, I feel. So I think we covered a Moonguss pretty well. I don't really think there's much to say about a Moonguss because a Moonguss does its job relatively well, and I don't really need anything else on a Moonguss. It does get Gastro Acid too, which nullifying an ability could be pretty nice. I'm not even going to lie. Nullifying an ability could potentially be game-changing if we get an ability like Jirachi, for example. We can just Gastro Acid it. It can't flinch us to death anymore or get any hacks on us whatsoever. So there's just an example of that being decently well, or doing decently well. Our next round selections are going to be round 4 and round 5 in Mamoswine and Terrakion. I think I select Mamoswine first, so we'll just talk about Mamoswine first. What doesn't Mamoswine like? I really like Mamoswine for a few reasons. First off, the popular thing in draft typically is to draft a fast electric type. Mamoswine basically says, screw you to all those fast electric types, especially things like Manectric, Zebstrika, Zapdos. Like, it can't really hurt Mamoswine that well. Yes, they have access to fire moves, but we have Thick Fat, and if we slap on an Assault Vest, we're going to be really bulky, and they're not going to be really able to take us on very well because of our Stab Earthquake, Icicle Crash for the Zapdos. We have Priority in Ice Shard, Endeavor in case we get low. Like, Mamoswine is just that Pokemon that you can do so many different things with. You can slap a Choice Band on it and make it hit hella hard. Like, if somebody doesn't have a Flying type on their team or a Levitating Pokemon, you just spam that Choice Band and Earthquake every single day until the team goes down. Or you can have Life Orb. You can go for Ice Shard, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Knock Off. It gets Freeze Dry for super effective water moves. I know that its special attack is really booty, but at the same time, it still can pick off something like a Seismitoad if somebody has that. Water Ground type, it's quad super effective. Freeze Dry is still going to do quite a bit of amount. Like, even with minimal investment, yeah, they could be slapping on like a Yachi Berry or something of that nature. But regardless, Mamoswine is an excellent Pokemon in that regard. Like, it can just do so many things. It can set up Stealth Rock too, which is important. Because we can run like an anti-lead Mamoswine with Endeavor, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, and Ice Shard. In case if we get down to our Focus Sash, we can go Endeavor and then Ice Shard and knock out a Pokemon, which is really important. Like, it's kind of like the Fear Rattata set, but it's not level 1. Because like a Water type comes into us, tries to like knock us out with Water. We'll live Endeavor, Ice Shard for the knockout. Because even after Leftovers recovery, a bulky Water is still not going to be living in Ice Shard. Unless it's something, I don't even know, I can't envision it. Like, I can't envision any bulky Water being able to do that. Maybe. It depends if we have like, if we have like an Intimidate on us or something, they might be able to live. But still, like, that's cool. That's a very niche strategy, but it could work. But Stealth Rocks are important as well. I do like Stealth Rock. It does get access to Rock moves too, in case we need to hit like a rock, or not a rock type, not a fire type, like a Talonflame or something like that, for an example. I know I've already given that example in here, but still. It also gets Superpower. Excuse me, sorry. It also gets Superpower, which is very cool, if I do say so myself. The next Pokemon we have is Terrakion. I wanted a win condition on this team, and a Pokemon that we could set up with in order to win the game. Terrakion does that very well. It has 2 setup moves, actually 3 if you call Calm Mind. Probably not gonna use Calm Mind ever. But yeah, it gets Calm Mind, I guess, Rock Polish, Sword Stance. It has the ability to set up quite well. And I am very happy that it has that. It has the perfect coverage, in my humble opinion. It gets Poison for Fairies. It gets Psychic for Fighting types, well, which we have. Yeah, it gets Psychic for Fighting types. Earthquake, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Close Combat. In case something, if I'm anticipating something to have a Focus Sash, I can go for Double Kick even. It has Iron Head for Fairies if you want to go that route instead, but Poison Jab probably would be better in case, because it knocks out Grass types as well. But it gets so many different coverage options that it's just a very, very solid Pokemon overall. Also, it gets Sacred Sword, which typically Close Combat is going to be better. But in case something sets up like a Bulk Up, like a bulky Fighting type, we can go for Sacred Sword. Ignore that and do a lot of damage, because Terrakion's rocking that base 129 attack. Justified's a really cool ability because Knockoff is so common. A lot of teams carry Knockoff users. Knockoff is one of the best moves in the game. I would say outside of Stealth Rock and Scalds, Knockoff is the best move in the game. Outside of those 2 moves, because I feel Scald and Stealth Rock are the best moves in the game. Stealth Rock's like a necessary evil. Also, it's a Stealth Rock user too. So, and it gets Taunt. So Taunt's kind of nice because we basically can shut down a Pokemon from setting up, like a Cresselia, and force it to attack us. Yes, I don't like that Terrakion loses to Cresselia, but we get X-Scissor for that too. So I might have to run like X-Scissor just for knocking out Cresselia behind the sub, so one of our old Pokemon can revenge it. But in case it's behind a sub and set up like One Calm Mind will not beat our team. It will not beat our team. But Taunt goes through Substitute, which is really nice. I think in 4th gen they didn't, and then 5th gen they changed it, so Taunt does go behind Substitute, which is really nice of them to do. Like, you can't tell me that they didn't make that. They don't look at, you can't tell me they never look at anything singles competitive. Like, why would they invent Stealth Rock or more entry hazards like Sticky Web and like Toxic Spikes, etc. Like, you can't tell me that like they're thinking that's for doubles, because a lot of people, like especially with 4 Pokemon, like they're not going to run those moves in doubles because it's just a waste of a move slot usually, because it's a lot faster pace than singles. But anyway, I'm losing track of what I'm saying. Anyway, we're talking about Terrakion and what an awesome Pokemon it is. Like Substitute, Swords Dance, Salac Berry is awesome. I will probably be running that eventually this season. It all depends on what the team matchup is. I'm not necessarily just going to go straight in like that. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, let's run this because it's fun. I'm going to be running the most effective strategy every single week on every single Pokemon. I will be thoroughly looking at everyone's team, and if it doesn't work, I'm not going to be running it. Or I'm not going to be running Terrakion in general if it doesn't have a decent matchup at least. So there's that. Terrakion is a really cool Pokemon. I really like it, and I'm really excited. I really wanted to draft this thing. So far, out of the first 5 rounds, I got every single Pokemon. Everything is going according to plan. We don't really get sniped until like round... We didn't get sniped until like round 8, I think. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Every single Pokemon, I had it on my draft board from the very beginning. We didn't have to make any harsh changes to our first 5, or first 7, I should say. Next up, though, we needed a Fairy type. And what I was looking for in a Fairy is the ability to Wish Pass. So that left us with a few options. Sylveon, Aromatisse, and what is it? Florges come to mind for my 3 fairies that I kind of wanted. However, the problem being is we have our 2 tier 1 Pokemon. Terrakion costed us 180. Mamoswine costed us 120. So we're going to use 300 of our 400 free points. So we'd essentially have to take a tier 4 and tier 5 after that. But you'll see what we do later on, just because of our Mega that we drafted. But also, I wanted to say Milotic was tier 2 and Moonguss was tier 3. So I just want to say that right away. Aromatisse is tier 4. So this is a very great value pick of tier 4, and here's why. It can set up Calm Mind. It can Wish. It can be a Cleric with Heal Bell Aromatherapy. It has decent coverage. It's got Psychic. It doesn't have the greatest coverage in the world, but it has enough for what it needs. It gets Thunderbolt too, which is really cool. So I can't be upset about that. It gets Energy Ball too randomly, which is kind of a niche strategy, but can come into play. And its ability is what really made me choose Aromatisse. Aroma Veil. So we can't be attracted. Disabled, Encore, Heal Block, Taunt, and Torment. None of those affect us, which is important. Very relevant, because I wanted our Wish Passer, our Heal Bell Cleric, to always be able to get these things off. If we need a Wish, we'll get a Wish. If we need a Heal Bell, we'll get a Heal Bell off, because Aromatisse is very bulky. It will not die as easily as one Pokemon a person would wish, unless it's like Poison or Steel. It's not gonna, or a Pokemon sets up, or just that then strong, but it's not going to go down as easy as possible, which is awesome. And I just love the fact that it cannot be taunted. That's the main reason I chose Aromatisse here. It's bulky, it's got high HP stat for wishes, it's a Cleric. It's like that. Those are the 3 main reasons why I chose it right there. Like, and it's a great Fairy type, and it's got good special attack, so it's not going to be set up fodder for anything. Like my team, I didn't want Pokemon to be set up fodder. I didn't want somebody to be able to bring in a Pokemon, set up on it, and just like Terrakion and Mamoswine, like they're not set up fodder because they hit so hard. Milotic has Dragon Tail. Moonguss has Clear Smog. Latias has Draco Meteor, Psyshock. It has the ability to shut those down. Aromatisse as a Fairy, being a Fairy, is just really good Pokemon. Yes, there are some things that can set up on our team. I'm not going to name any of those, because why would I? Even though I have named some throughout this video. I just really like Aromatisse as a Pokemon. Like, there's no... I don't need to really go into depth about this thing. It just does what I need it to do. Next up, that was round 6. Round 7 is Darmanitan. Now, I knew going in I wanted Darmanitan. For one, it gets U-turn, so it gives us switch initiative. So if somebody switches out, we'll get U-turn and get initiative on them again. 2, Sheer Force, Flare Blitz, Choice Band. Do the math. There aren't a lot of Pokemon that really want to switch into that. Obviously, we have to be careful for Flash Fire Pokemon, but we have Earthquake for those. It gets like the perfect coverage moves. Earthquake is so nice. Like, if you predict a switch, like, how you have to play so carefully around Darmanitan. You can't just switch in a Fire type because of the threat of Earthquake or Stone Edge. And then everything else essentially just dies to Flare Blitz. Bulky water types, yes, can live. Like, water types are the bane of this thing's existence. But that's why we have a Moonguss and our other team members so far, Moonguss and Milotic and stuff. Like, we can deal with them relatively well. Darmanitan is a win condition in itself. It has 95 base speed, which is really pretty good. Because we are going to EV drain this thing enough to only outspeed certain threats. Somebody's got like a base 90, we're not going to put anything. We're going to put up to a base 90. We're not going to just run max speed for the sake of running max speed, because that's just a waste of EVs. Yeah, we're not the bulky thing. We have a really high HP stat, which makes us like semi-average for like bulk then, like just because of our huge HP stat of 105. But still, this thing can bluff choice items because of sheer force. So if we are expert bout, we can go for U-turn. Well, sorry. Correction. If we're Life Orb, we can bluff it by going for Flare Blitz. And then say they bring in like a Volcanion to take on a Life Orb Darmanitan. We can bluff that, and they think, oh, he's definitely Choice Scarf. And then we go for Earthquake, Outspeed, and knock out Volcanion. For an example like that. Just something like that. It does its job extremely well. And if we need to, it gets Will-O-Wisp and like Encore. So we're Choice Scarf. I might randomly win those moves, because if a Pokemon's setting up in our face and we have no way around it, but it gets crippled by a burn or get crippled by an Encore, we can Encore something into its said move. It gets set up, and then it turns into setup fodder for other Pokemon, which is really fantastic. And I love Darmanitan. It gets the perfect array of moves that you can't be upset about. And honestly, you could slap in an Assault Vest on this thing, and it can still do pretty well. Yes, Sheer Force is its only ability. Like, it gets Zen Mode, but I'm never going to run Zen Mode Darmanitan, because that's really risky. It turns into this slow pile of poo Psychic Fire type, and it's just not very good. I don't like it. I can't say I like it. And it does get Psychic, which is really cool, but its special attack's so bad that why would you ever run Psychic? Flare Blitz is going to be a better play 99.999% of the time. I can't think of a time where Psychic would be ever a better play, or Focus Blast for that matter. But anyway, besides the point, it gets really cool moves, abilities. I don't know, its typing isn't the best, being a fire type, because it's weak to Stealth Rock and every hazard in the game. But besides that, it's great. It does what I want it to do. It gets Endure too, so if you ever want to run like a Salic Berry set, there you go. It gets Belly Drum, which is fun. It's always fun. In case we're low, it gets Endeavor. It gets a lot of fun things that I will be looking forward to using for sure. There's no doubt about this thing's going to be fun to use. It's going to destroy lives, and that's that Zipstrike Army. But yep, that was a round 7 selection. So on to round 8 of 11 and round 9. Next up, we drafted the combination of Malamar and Magnezone. Magnezone does help. I'm going to talk about Malamar first, because I technically selected it first. I wanted a Dark-type Pokemon. Originally, I was going to select Fortress instead of Magnezone, and Spiritomb instead of Malamar, because in combination with our other Pokemon that we ended up getting, I was actually going to draft Substrika too, but we didn't draft it because it didn't fit our team the way it was going, because Fortress got sniped from us in round 8, which is fine. Fortress is now a free agent, so I can pick it up, but I don't want to, because the more I think about having Malamar, the more I really like having Malamar. It's another win condition for us, because we can spam Superpower. Looking at its stats, which are up on the screen as they've been up on the screen throughout this entire analysis, has really good stats. Average, it's not like particularly great in anything, 92 being its best in attack, but Superpower fixes all that with the ability Contrary. Superpower fixes that, as does having Infiltrator to stop the substitute issue that we're having. So if we need to, we can run Infiltrator Malamar, Choice Scarf Infiltrator Malamar, to knock out certain threats to our team that may or may not have Substitute, which I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just saying Substitute in general. So basically, people are probably just getting out of this Substitute, Jacob. Run Substitute in every single Pokemon. I'll play around that, though. Or do my darndest. Anyway, Malamar is very good. It has Contrary, which is an amazing ability. Suction Cups, which, if we want to set up Calm Mind, we can, because then we can't be phased out. Infiltrator. Gets rid of Reflect, Light Screen, Safeguard, Mist, all of those annoying moves. Infiltrator gets past. So, we can get past Substitutes with this thing, and we can knock things out if we're Choice Scarf with Knock Off, Night Slash, anything of that nature. So this is important in our operation to becoming NPCC Season 2 champions, guys. This is our of utmost important. Like, this is really good. This is gonna be the glue of our team to a degree. If the matchup calls for it, I will be bringing Malamar, and Malamar is really good. Sure, it has no resistances, being only immune to Psychic, but that's okay. Superpower with Contrary helps fix that. We'll get set up. We'll get behind a Substitute. We have Leftovers, Knock Off, Drain Punch. Like, we have all these fun things. Or it does not get Drain Punch. I don't think it gets Drain Punch. Sorry, it does not get Drain Punch. I don't know why I thought it got Drain Punch. But it gets other cool moves. Like, it gets randomly Flamethrower and Foul Play. So, if somebody's got a quad weakness to Fire, Fortress, Ferrothorn, things like that, Flamethrower is going to be coming in clutch. Or, obviously we can run Hidden Power. Most things get Hidden Power, but still, this thing is very cool. I really like this thing. And the fact if Intimidate happens, we have Contrary for that. We can just bring this thing in, get the Contrary boost, and attempt to sweep. Sure, it has Hidden Power Bug, and that's kind of important. Like, looking at all the teams at this point, there weren't a whole lot of special attackers that were bug-oriented. So once we got a couple superpowers up, we're going to be able to really live U-turns from certain Pokemon. And if somebody doesn't have an out to this thing, they will get swept by this thing, and this thing will destroy lives. It's that good. Like, Malamar, it's not that good, but it's pretty good for being a tier 5 Pokemon. Gosh, like, Malamar is fantastic for being tier 5. Darmanitan was tier 3, by the way, if I didn't state that. But Malamar is a fantastic Pokemon. Very good at what it does. Enough about that, though. I don't really think we need to, like, keep going on. It's just fantastic, and I really like it. I know I'm saying fantastic a lot. I know I'm saying a lot of these Pokemon are good. But for my playstyle, these Pokemon fit my playstyle perfectly. Magnezone is no exception of that. Magnezone has decent, pretty good abilities. Magnet Pull, the ability to trap in Steel types. And you won't know if I have Sturdy, Analytic, or Magnet Pull. I can play around people with Steel types. There are a couple teams with multiple Steel types on their team. I can play around that with Magnet Pull. So they essentially, either I trap them or they run Shed Style. But the fact is, I could just be bluffing the Magnet Pull, run Analytic, and if they switch out, I get the Analytic boost. I can spam things like Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon. If that's a Choice Specs Thunderbolt and Flash Cannon, if they switch into the incorrect Pokemon because they're Shed Shell, worrying about that, Pokemon are just going to drop left and right. They're going to faint. There's no way around it. They will faint unless they predict correctly. So there you have it. Magnezone's just so very important to this team, and once you see our Mega Pokemon, you will understand why. Our Mega Pokemon does things pretty well. It does what it does. It's very consistent at what it does. In fact, it can never miss moves, which I think I just gave it away. But Magnezone has so many different things it can do. It has Magnet Pull. Sorry, not Magnet Pull. It has Magnet Rise, so we can avoid those Earthquakes and have two weaknesses, being Fire and Fighting. Only then. So there's that. I think it gets Agility, if I'm not mistaken. Does it get Agility? It does not. Sorry. I thought it got Agility for whatever reason, but It doesn't, which is fine. If it gets reflecting light screen, if we would need that. But it has explosion just to get some decent damage. Its attack stat is 70, which is bad, but like explosion is still so powerful. The ability with Volt Switch and this and Darmanitan now, I really like. Because we have a Volt turn combination. And we can just keep switching out between those two. And like, if they don't have a ground type, they're going to be in trouble. Ground types are so important in League format because it puts a stop to electric types from doing that. You're going to spam Volt turn? Not on me. Not on my watch. Not going to happen. But there you go. Magnezone does its job well and will do its job well. I know it will. Like, I just have that feeling that it's going to be really good for us. I know it's quad weak to ground, but its defenses will make up for that because we can always run a Berry on it if we need to. Next up, I'm going to talk about my Mega and our final selection. Our Mega is Mega Pidgeot. Because I was aiming for this thing from the start. Like, I knew exactly which Mega I wanted, and I was going to go with that Mega. Mega Pidgeot does give us another option for defog if we need it. Mostly Latias. That's going to be a Latias as a, forte. Or not, I guess forte. Latias' job for the most part. But Mega Pidgeot cannot miss any of its moves. Yes, Pokemon cannot miss moves on it, but it doesn't miss any moves. Hurricane. The ability to spam 120 base power move, or sorry, 110 base power move without missing is really important. And it has a 30% chance to confuse Pokemon. That's even better. Also, the fact Pidgeot can never miss Toxic is kind of something that I liked. I was happy about. Yes, Rock types kind of stopped this in its track, but we have Milotic, a Moonguss, Terrakion, Mamoswine, all of those Pokemon, and then Magnezone to a degree, 2 moves, Flash Cannon, stop Rock types. We have U-Turn to get out of there, so I'm not really too worried about Rock types. This thing is base 121 speed, which is really awesome because if a lot of Pokemon's teams are slower, we can go with Modest Nature instead of Timid, or we can go with Timid to outspeed more things. Like, there are a lot of Pokemon this thing outspeeds for us, even after Choice Scarf, even after +2. Like, if we're facing a random Omastar, for example, it sets up a Shell Smash, we can just go for Hidden Power Grass and outspeed it, because we'll still outspeed after +2, because we're that fast. And Omastar's that slow, for an example. Or we have a win condition in Agility. We go Modest Max Special Attack, Agility to outspeed his entire team. His or her. I think there are only guys in our league. But that's okay. Besides the point. Their team. We have win condition. We can't miss. Like, they can't rely on us missing any moves. So there you have it. Like, Pidgeot just does its job so consistently well. And our attack's not very good. It's 80, which is just average about. It gets Quick Attack, which I will run if I need extra priority. Like, we only have right now, I think, priority potential on our, what's it called? On our Mamoswine. No, we have Quick Attack on Terrakion too, so I guess I shouldn't say that, but Quick Attack is kind of a niche move that we can run if we really need it, just the extra damage. If it's like at 5% health and we just need to knock it out, I would hate to lose a game like that, so there we go. It gets Roost too, so it can be a very defensive Pokemon. Having its HP stat, it's like average defenses, which is nice. Like, it can be a wall if we need it to be, because it just can never miss Toxic, and it gets Tailwind too, so we can set up a different Pokemon for a sweep, little mini sweep. Because we'll, like, say we go for Tailwind, we go down, we bring a Terrakion, we're Life Orb, we just sweep the team. That's kind of cool, if I do say so myself. It just gets so many things. It gets Feather Dance to lower their attack by harshly by -2, so that's kind of cool too, I thought. Like, it's not like the best at it, but it gets Sunny Day and Rain Dance. So if we want to run a team like that, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna do what we need to do in order to win. And by golly, I will do that. It gets Work Up too as a setup option, so that's kind of cool. A lot of things are kind of cool and fantastic and niche. and awesome, and they'll work well. But besides that, like, I really like Mega Pidgeot. I wanted this thing from the start, and I'm really happy that we ended up getting it. I can't complain. This is the Mega I wanted from the beginning, and we got it! So with our final selection, this was round 10 and 11, we drafted Crustal. I guess it doesn't matter what order it was in, but Crustal does something for this team that I wanted. It sets up spikes, and it's a different Stealth Rock user other than Terrakion Mamoswine. Because if I just had those in my Stealth Rock user, they would be able to predict better. Now that I have Crustal, also another option I was thinking about selecting here in Tier 5, because we were forced in Tier 5, because being Mega Pidgeot is a Tier 3 Mega, we got plus 60 on our total for the free slots, so we're at the 460. So Magnezone was a Tier 2 Pokemon, which was 120, Mamoswine was 120, so that's 240. It was 180 for Terrakion, which puts up to 420, and we had 40 more to select, so we had to draft Tier 5. So we went with Crustal because it sets up spikes. It can set up Stealth Rock. It has Sturdy and Weak Armor to set up more hazards. Sturdy, which is nice because we can do that in tandem with a Crustal Berry and be able to just do what we need to do. Set up more hazards, knock off, go for Rock Blast in case we're facing something, because we can break subs with that and stuff. It gets X's. It's a bug type, which is kind of important if you think about it, because psychic types like Cresselia are an issue to a degree for our team, but Crustal kind of fixed that issue. It has the ability to Shell Smash up, which is kind of cool. If we don't want to run this as a hazard stacking peanut butter sandwich, because kind of peanut butter, you got the bread on top, and then you got peanut butter in the middle, I don't know. But yeah, it kind of does that. Like, it has a good option to sweep if we needed to do that. Yes, it is kind of weak to priority at that point because Mach Punch can chip it away, Aqua Jet, I don't know, things like that, just for an example. But regardless, Crustal is a great Pokemon for our team. It fits our team pretty well. The ability to set up hazards is just the best in what I wanted it to do. You can't really say a whole lot that hasn't been said about Crustal. It just gets what I needed to get. And it kind of gets Bulldoze, which I kind of like. Other Pokemon get Bulldoze too, but Darmanitan's Sheer First ability will nullify that. I'm not going to run that in Terrakion, but Crustal is typically a support Pokemon. So I like that. Also, Endure Weakness Policy, anyone? I'm just saying. Anyway, besides that, Endure is nice because we can run Endure Weakness Policy. It gets counter with Sturdy, which I like too. It just gets so many things that I like, and I'm not going to be upset with this pick at all. It'll do what we need it to do, and I'll be happy about that. So there you go. There's our team. Zebstrika Army, you have now met our Season 2 of the NPC Green Bay Pikachus and their coach, me, JacobAsAlways. If you guys enjoyed this team analysis, I know it was over 43 minutes of me talking, but I thoroughly enjoyed making this analysis for you, and I hope you understood my mindset while drafting each and every single one of these Pokemon. And I hope you guys stay tuned for NPCC, National Pokemon Competitive Conference Season 2. Today is June 5th, 2016. The first battle will be on Saturday. I think it's around 12 o'clock. And we will be definitely doing a team builder on Friday. I'll be making a team builder explaining my team each and every single time beforehand. I already have my team planned out to a degree, except for I might change a few things for the Dallas Dedenes and Foul Plays, who's our opponent. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Zebstrika Army. My name has been JacobAsAlways, your coach of the Green Bay Pikachus. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and if you guys could, please electrify that like button, like a Zebstrika would, Zebstrika Army. Have a great day, and I love you all so very much. Adios, Zebstrika Army.